our ambition. It starts with over 26,000 square kilometers of land, set in an ideal location where 3 continents meet, right at the heart of the world's transport, trade and telecoms routes. A place rich in natural resources with a generous climate. Here we see the birth of Neom, the world's most ambitious project. A destination of the future, a vision that is becoming reality. We see a chance to design a better way of life, with a blueprint for sustainable living. We see a place that will inspire new learning, create new industries and encourage enterprise, invention and ingenuity. A hive of creativity and a new home of culture. A roadmap for the future of civilization. We see a new way, a new era. We see Neom.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the anchor and global markets editor at Fox Business Network, Maria Bartiromo.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to be with you this afternoon as we kick off a very special part of the program right now, as we watch something of a revolution happening here in Saudi Arabia as the kingdom looks to growth. Let me introduce the vision behind that growth story. Please welcome to the stage, ladies and gentlemen, His Royal Highness, Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Hello, Your Highness. Thank you. And now, our other panelists. Please welcome to the stage Stephen A. Schwarzman, Chairman and CEO and co-founder of the Blackstone Group. Masayoshi Son, Chairman and CEO of the SoftBank Group of Japan. Mark Raybert, CEO, Boston Dynamics of the USA. And Klaus Kleinfeld, the former chairman and CEO, Arconic, and Alcoa, former president and CEO, Siemens of the USA. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us, and to you, Your Royal Highness, thank you so much for hosting us. We just watched a video of Neom. This is the first time we are actually hearing what Neom is. You are breaking this news right now. Please tell us your vision for this new city.
If you allow me, I will speak in Arabic, because a lot of Saudi audience here and I really respect them. لدينا في نيوم فرص.
We have opportunities today
تكاد أن تكون خيالية.
That it seems as if it's
ضخم سعودي.
A Saudi market, huge market.
خارج السعودية.
A demand outside of Saudi Arabia, $100 billion.
قدرة استثمارية ضخمة جدا.
Exceptional capability, $500 million.
موقع.
A site, our location, a distinguished one between 3 continents, with crossings of maritime and naval crossings. 10% of the international trade passes through the Red Sea. A nature, fascinating nature, mountains, valleys, beaches, passages, islands. There are snow in winter. In summer, it's less than 10 degrees than other GCC countries. The strong political will and the desire of the population, all the success factors are there to create something big in Saudi Arabia. After all these opportunities and factors, and the land which is near to be vacant. We are looking for, traditionally, we have an opportunity to transfer to a new generation of life and cities and technologies and health services, etc. We started to work with other companies and investors and entrepreneurs, and all these thoughts are embedded and exploiting this demand to create something new and transfer the land to a new location. We have today a group of friends who worked together on this project in the previous time. We have a dream to build the biggest solar panels and the world on the shape solar panels. Steve, SoftBank is the most important portfolios and funds in the world. He is looking for opportunities. Always, Mark he wants to come with us in the design of this project and planning it to create the robotics, and to create a demand in this. He wants the robots to be more than humans in this project. And Klaus he left all his big projects and came, and he has a belief in this cause to put his imprint on it. We have a lot of partners in this room and outside of this room working strongly with us to embody this idea. All the success factors are there to create something great, a new thing. The most important factor is the Saudi people, Saudi human power. Saudi people and Saudi human power. The people of Saudi Arabia are living in this desert. They have many values, principles, and fundamentals. But because he lived in desert for a long time, first, they have cunnings.
The second one is the great earnest that will make him resist everything and reach everything once he's convinced. Today we have a people that is convinced, working together very strongly to have Saudi Arabia reach with all of its projects and programs to new horizons in the world. So, in order to conclude, what is Neom in short? The difference that is going to happen in Neom as a zone, as a city, in Neom, is like the difference between this phone and this phone. This is what we're going to achieve in Neom.
Your Highness, you have the demand. We know that the people want entertainment. They want to go and see different places. The ocean, we know you have the money to do this, and you have the resources. What kind of a reception have you received by this tremendous vision?
Many things.
Many things. When talking about resources, the location is undoubtedly has enough sunshine to create any energy that we want. Solar energy, there is wind. That is considered to be the best location in the Middle East with the presence of winds. Also, we can extract 200,000 oil barrels in this location, other than gas deposits in this location. I believe that the majority have reviewed the piece of news today, and what are the 9 sectors that we concentrate on to establish the Zion and the city inside this zone. So there are many opportunities that we're working on, and we try not to work only with the dreamers. This place is not the place for conventional people or conventional companies. This is a place for dreamers that want to create something new in the world.
Klaus Kleinfeld, you will be the CEO of Neom. Give us your vision. What are you expecting this to look like within the next 5 years?
Actually, we don't know. He's a CEO or a governor of Neom.
Well,
first of all, I mean, I wouldn't be sitting here if it weren't for the vision of the kingdom and if it weren't for the leadership that you just heard the vision. And it's not only the vision that is big, it's also the capabilities to put it in action, right? And those things are a critical essence. I tell you, my first, when I received the question, Klaus, would you be interested in it? I said, let me come over and let me take a look at the land. And I went there, and this is 26,500 square kilometers. It has 500 kilometers of beachfront. 2/3 of this is sandy beaches, islands, coral reefs. 1/3 of it is mountainous terrain, very steep drops, and all of it is untouched, beautiful. You have mountains that go up to 2,500 meters. You have a climate that's really nice. The wind blows all the time, you know? So I saw it and I thought, where on earth, you know, can this happen? And then you look at the geography and you say, I mean, 70% of all people all around the world can be here in this place in no more than 8 hours flight time, you know? So if you look at the transit routes, 10+% of all transit go through the Suez Canal. You know, you have the telecom routes going through there. You put all these things together and you say, wow. And then you start saying, well, what have we got here? I mean, the kingdom has been blessed with oil and gas. We know this. The kingdom has been blessed with the new oil and gas, which is sun, right? And Neom has been blessed on top of it with wind. You know, so we can create something that is fully regenerative powered. Zero carbon, net zero carbon, you know. We actually think that we can export from there, and I'm sure Masayoshi Son is going to talk more about it because he's going to help put this vision into reality now, you know. So this is very exciting. And then when you pair it with the idea of, I mean, if you think about, there's a shift. I mean, as you know, Maria, I mean, I've got 2 daughters, you know, 23 and 28, you know, and when I listen to them and their friends, you know, there's a different generation. There's a different view of how the future should look like. Sustainability plays a big role. Quality of life plays a big role, and they all want to be part of the technological revolution that's going on. So our great vision here is to bring these things together, to create a place where you can live very well, very, very well. Well in a way that's more back to where humanity came from. But you pair it with using technology to help do this and accelerating it into a future that makes the human more, has economic benefits, but puts the human in front, you know. So that's, I mean, that's inspiring to me, and as His Royal Highness said, I'm very much inclined to put my fingerprints on it, and he's helping every day on it and every night.
Your Highness, you have an incredibly beautiful country. You have the resources, but you are having radical ideas, some might say. Recently, you've announced that you will soon allow women to drive. You are allowing foreign investment in your beautiful country. Why now? What triggered this change in thinking?
First of all, I don't want to get out of this topic and discuss politics outside of the scope of today, but I'll just be very brief. Saudi Arabia was not like this prior to '79. Saudi Arabia and in the entire region, you have the awakening project spread after '79 for many reasons. Today is not the right day to discuss them. We were not like this in the past. We only want to go back to what we were, the moderate Islam that is open to the world, open to all the religions.
–
70% of the Saudi people are less than 30 years old. And quite frankly, we will not waste 30 years of our lives in dealing with extremist ideas. We will destroy them today. We want to live a normal life a life that translates our moderate religion, our good customs. We coexist and live with the world and contribute to the development of our country and the world. This is something that there are steps that we have taken in the past that are clear. I believe that we will eradicate the rest of extremism very soon. So I don't think this is a real challenge, because we represent the moderate teachings and principles of Islam, and we have the right. The right is on our side and everything that we deal with. So I don't think that we are concerned.
Thank you for those important words, Your Highness. Masayoshi Son, you are investing in the Saudi Electric Company. You see opportunity here in Neom. Tell us about it.
Well, I think Neom is fantastic opportunity. Crown Prince convinced me to get involved in this project. In the beginning, I did not understand, but when I visited the location, I said, wow. And also talking about the future, we cannot create just one more new city. We have to create dramatically different next century city so that we can extend the wealth and happiness of the kingdom. And I said, we can make it happen with the high-tech technology and high touch, more human-like living in, with a great technology, but with a great nature, beautiful ocean, beach, and a clean and great job. So we discussed and said, then Crown Prince said, well, Masa, if you have the vision and the wish, make it happen. Make it happen, let's make it happen together. So I said, okay, I will make a commitment. So this afternoon, we made a commitment and announced, signed MOU that we, SoftBank Vision Fund, would invest significant stake investment into Saudi Electric Corporation company, and we will make through investment into Saudi Electric company, we make it into the next generation with new energy of the solar using the sunshine. I don't know why, but God keep on giving the gift to this kingdom, oil and sunshine and the sun. So not only we import technology or product, but actually in Neom, we are going to create from the sand into polysilicon, from polysilicon to ingot, from ingot to wafer, from wafer to the solar panel, and solar panel generate electricity. So from the sand and the sunshine, we make all of it 100% using the nature of the kingdom. And Saudi has the great Mecca. We will create 2 more Mecca.
Please don't misunderstand him. Mecca is now an example. Mecca has become an example for the point of emergence or convergence. So he is talking of a Mecca that will attract people.
No, what I mean is new technology. No, that's what I really mean. We will create the largest solar power generation in the world, in Neom. one more thing, is the largest and most advanced robot generation in the world. So all the engineers developing technology about the solar power generation, all those engineers will come and show their technology, develop the technology together in this Neom. All the robot engineers from all over the world, they will all come and bring the new technology and create fantastic next generation robots. So as the Crown Prince said, this will be the first city on the earth, more robot than human population in the city. So therefore I would say the the passion, the new excitement will happen from this new city, Neom.
This is a very important point that you make, Masa, and we want to talk about that in terms of robotics. But Steve Schwarzman, let me go to you, because the Blackstone Group owns and has invested in so many companies. Do you see an opportunity to bring companies to Neom? Tell us how you see it.
Well, the answer is yes, but first, I wanted to just share a conversation that I had with the Crown Prince, which was a year and a half ago. He was in New York, and he was talking about 3 new cities, actually, in Saudi Arabia. And this is the first time I had met him. And he was so passionate and so visionary, so unique, that I had never met anybody in the world who had a vision of this type, and who I could tell by force of personality was going to make it happen. And this is very unusual. And I would say that from being a little older than I used to be, and also going around the world, that great leaders create great outcomes. But by the same token, terrible leaders can take wonderful places and make them into a complete mess. And we get to see, those of us who go around the world, examples of both. And I'm really struck by the transformational elements that are occurring in Saudi. It's really quite astonishing, which is why many of us are here today. Now, as to Neom, I was in Chicago, Illinois, in the United States last weekend because one of my nieces was getting married. And they have a river that flows through Chicago. And I had nothing to do in the afternoon, so I took the river tour, which is designed to show the architecture of Chicago. And towards the middle of the tour, they were talking about the fire of 1872, which was probably the worst fire in US history. And it burned two-thirds of the city and all the places that were important. And this was a huge tragedy. But as it worked out, it was the best thing that ever happened to Chicago, because they got a chance to start a new city. And at that time, they had new technology, much like this time in history, but what they had was the invention of the elevator. Now, those of us here take elevators for granted, but at one point, there were no elevators. So what happened in Chicago is they ended up building the tallest buildings in the world because they had the technology to do it. They used their land more efficiently, and Chicago became the second largest city in the United States with great prosperity. Now in Saudi, you have the advantage you don't have to knock down, an obsolete city. Those of us who live in the West, call it the developed world more than just the West, we have incumbent cities, and they have enormous amounts of issues that face them. Buildings that are not at contemporary standard, difficulty in adopting technology. Those of you who travel know sometimes it's almost impossible to get around with traffic, although you have your own share here in Riyadh, I must say. But all of those problems, as well as some other new problems, which are involved personal safety and sustainability and scalability, are very difficult to make work in incumbent cities. And this is the advantage of Neom, that you can make it right like Chicago did. You can use the most modern technology. Firms like ours, who have big exposures in the hotel business, you're going to need hotels. You're going to be able to use entertainment centers, which is something that we do. There'll be light industry that comes in. And I think the opportunity to create this new city and attract people from around the world, first from around the region, then from around the world, is really an enormous opportunity. And I think that anyone who's in the presence of this kind of new vision has to really be in awe of what you're attempting to do, with the assurances that it will work. So congratulations.
Your Highness, this is a very important point. And here, you're beginning from scratch. You have foreigners, foreign businesses watching. What do you need most to make this a reality?
Starting from scratch is a unique thing, and this is what we concentrate on today, to plan a city with the technologies of tomorrow. There are many things that we cannot start unless we start from scratch, like whether the city is going to be a drone-friendly city. Today, there is no existing city that can use drones because they lack the infrastructure, like parkings, like the buildings need to be drone-friendly. So there are many things that will be taken care of in designing the city in transportation plans. Today, we don't know if the city will have cars or driverless cars, or not cars at all. Depends on different ways of mobility. This applies to all other sectors. So there is an opportunity to plan from scratch, to build a zone, a city, starting from scratch. Like Steve mentioned, nobody will be able to build something like Neom except in one state, to demolish an existing city and rebuild it. But no other city in the world can change to become a Neom in the future.
Masa, have you ever seen anything like this in all of your investing? Getting in truly at the very beginning?
This is fantastic opportunity. As Crown Prince says, because of the leadership, because of the location, because of the people in the kingdom, we can make it happen. And of course, it requires a lot of investment. But investment with a great return is a good investment. Investment with bad return is, of course, not. But we are making investment in many, many opportunities. And I would not invest if I don't think there is a good return. And I am excited I am excited because we can design the whole city from zero, and with a futuristic design, we can make it happen so that every participant who participates on the project can make a great profit, not just a great profit, it is the beautiful life. The kingdom people, young generation, they can enjoy the future and the beautiful, and with a great family relationship, with great business relationship with the rest of the world. I think this is a fantastic opportunity. So all of the city will have the Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, so there will be no traffic jam, and all the security is designed from the beginning. I think this will be a fantastic opportunity.
So Mark, let's get some specifics. From a practical standpoint, how do you see robotics working in Neom?
Before I get to that, I'd like to say, I've been a technologist for a long time, and I love technology. And there's a number of important ingredients. One is money. And I think we all know that. To really make progress in a technical area, you have to have money. But I don't think that's the most important ingredient. Another ingredient is talent. We all know that talent's very important. But I don't think that's the most important ingredient either. I think big dreams is the most important ingredient for making big progress. And I'm really glad to be on this panel with all these dreamers. His Majesty is obviously a world scale, maybe a universal scale big dreamer. Masayoshi Son, of course. And it's really a pleasure to be involved in a project like this. Beyond that, I'm excited by this opportunity, which is really an opportunity for robotics, which is my specialty, because it's a two-way thing. I think we can use robots to build the city, which will help a lot, and I think robots will populate the city and perform a wide variety of services. So it's a different kind of place to live, where robots are helping, of course, do security, but also things like logistics for moving things around, maybe delivering things to your home so that you don't have to have people doing that. I think that robots can also help when there's emergencies, but I also think they'll help take care of people. Healthcare is a big task, and I'd say around the world the populations are aging, and right now it falls on limited resources to take care of aged people, and there's no reason why robots can't help do that. I'm looking forward to the day when, rather than being a burden on my children to take care of me, robots are helping take care of me. And finally, that's all in how robots are going to contribute, but I think that Neom is going to contribute to robotics because it will provide resources and pull for development. Robots can't do all the things that we need them to do yet, and a project like this, a world-scale project like this, will help pull the technology ahead. And finally, I think that to help cultivate the tech base in Neom, robotics as a focus will provide an ecosystem, a tech ecosystem, or the heart of one that could really have a big impact both on the population of Neom and on all of mankind through its contribution to robotics and other technology.
Well, we saw the video and it's absolutely beautiful. I understand the opportunity for tourism and the hotel industry. What other industries, Your Highness, are going to see growth as a result of this?
We concentrate on a number of sectors, part of which addresses the leakage in our economy. The other is our share in what goes around us in the Middle East. And the third is targeting the new sectors that we would like to be pioneers in by supporting and establishing in Neom. So there are conventional sectors like entertainment, but we try to present them in Neom differently because we encourage difference in this field. And there are sectors that are unconventional like biotechnology in Neom. So we target 9 sectors. Like as I mentioned, some conventional, some new. We want to have a share of what their shape is going to be in the future, to have Neom with a good share in the future of the world.
Klaus, would you like to add to that?
Yes, I mean, think of it, Maria, not just as an empty piece of land, but also think of it as an invitation to everybody who's in the tech industry. Masa said it already. I mean, there's a big announcement today. Neom is going to be the leader in solar. You know, so anybody around the world who is working in this, there's also still a lot going on technologically, will have a place, a natural place, a beautiful natural place where to come and where to cooperate with the best and brightest to make it happen, right? And think of it also as from the regulatory point of view, because we also have the liberty here to write a regulatory system for each industry that is most in tune with what they need. And we had the discussion about drone-friendly cities, right? One issue is the regulatory side, which pretty much everybody who's got an established system struggles with. And you find that in almost each one of the new technologies, because when you go to personalized medicine, how do you do tests for personalized medicine? You know, and the existing structures struggle with it. They can't come to grips. This is one of the opportunities where we will assemble the leaders in the innovation and the ones that have thought about it most and say, what is the best regulatory system that on the one hand, I mean, has high ethical standards and at the same time accelerates the speed in which we can move forward. And I think this ingredient all make what you mentioned, which I think is essential here, it's talent. And this will become a magnet for talent, a magnet for people who really want to be part of bringing a vision to reality.
So then, Your Highness, the regulation will be different.
Indeed. The project today does not have any population, so the regulations will be formed in a way that instigates and encourages the businesses. This is the first time in the world where regulations are designed by business people in order to encourage their business. So this is the first of such experience in the world that serves business people to formulate their own regulations and laws that serves them in this zone.
This is a huge point. It's an enormous point. Masa, a moment ago, you said there will be more robotics than people. Explain that. Where will we be seeing the most robotics?
I would say in 30 years from today, the number of population in the world would be about 10 billion people. Number of robots, 30 years from today, I believe would be about 10 billion robots on the earth. The cars that is driving today become robots. With the autonomous driving, with the intelligence, it will drive by itself. In my definition, it is a robot. The drone that flies, that is a robot. The drone that swims, that is also a robot. The giant robot, micro robots, all kinds of robots, they will have the intelligence. Did you ever think about last 30 years, the power of computing, the speed of computing, the memory size, the speed of communication, that has improved 1 million times. If you think computer is smart today, 30 years from today, the computer will be 1 million times smarter than today. So if you think computer is already smart, it's going to become so much smart, and that super intelligence goes into the robot. They can serve many, many jobs or things that we are struggling today. So if those robots comes to help our life better, happier, if that thing is coming anyway, why don't our country here in Saudi, in the kingdom, in Neom, take the leadership? Take the leadership of the future. We can make it happen because this is a brand new city. And also one more thing, one more industry. I said sunshine. Did you ever think only 3% of the land of kingdom, Saudi, only 3% of land today can provide 50% of the electricity of the world? Did you ever think about that? That is the fact with today's technology of solar. And of course, we don't have to provide 50% of the electricity from Saudi to all over the world. We don't have to do that. But there is an advantage. I was amazed. Such a great sunshine and dry and the sun, that was in the past, that was the handicap, that was a difficulty. Now, suddenly it becomes advantage. It is a beautiful advantage. And why don't we use that? I have met with many people here in the kingdom, very smart, very smart. Now, with the strong leadership, with a great sunshine, with a great sun, with a great location, with a brand new city, we can make it happen.
Steve Schwarzman, you have taken over companies and had to change cultures and change the way they operate. What are the risks or the challenges that we all should be aware of as the kingdom embarks on this incredibly ambitious project that you see? Challenges and risks.
Well, I guess there's no risk of downside if Masa's involved. I mean, he can get almost everyone in the world to come here and do things. You know, having him on your team is a great thing. Biggest risk of transformational projects is that they don't work. And then that sets off, you know, sort of disappointment, you know, that goes broader than just the project. On the other hand, success has a transformational impact, where when people see that something can be done, they believe that other things will be done. And that's the great advantage of this project. And it's an advantage of this meeting. It's an advantage that the meeting is on television, and that everyone in the kingdom and outside the kingdom gets to hear what the objectives are. There's almost no other place in the world where people are talking about things of this type. They're not talking about anything that's integrated by way of technology. There are pieces of it. You see it on television, you see it on markets, you see it in magazines, to the extent there are even magazines left that haven't been disintermediated. And here it is. It's on display, it's integrative, and it's something that not only a country can rally around, but potentially, when this starts working, and it's at scale, it's something that will have potentially a transformational impact on other parts of the world and other countries. And it could be one of the most important markers in the 21st century. This is not an everyday kind of thing that we're all part of and that all of Saudi is part of. It's remarkably exceptional. And those kind of dreams with excellent people involved, financial resources. Klaus, who you don't know yet, you'll get to know him. He doesn't stop. He's a very on top of it, effective, aggressive executive. I've known Klaus for 30 years, and we've all evolved in 30 years, but he's never changed in that, those personal characteristics. And so they picked a very good person who has knowledge and connections all over the world, literally. He can pick up the phone and get just about anybody on it. So I look at the downside of this. The only downside, realistically, is time. How fast do you realize your dream? And that's something that has to be, sort of scoped out and planned, and make sure that expectations are in line with what's achievable. But in investing, you only make a go decision in my world. Everybody has a different concept on investing, I guess, is when you're like 9 to 1 sure something's going to work. Why take risk? I mean, I hate risk. Every entrepreneur you'll meet sounds like he or she's doing something risky, but we all hate risk and do everything we can to get rid of it so nothing bad happens to us or our investors. So I think with the right time frame here, this is like really, really interesting and is going to happen. The only way there's something that's another outcome is if you define something so narrowly. What I also find is that not every dream I have, and most of them come true. And on this panel, and many people in this audience, particularly those of us who are guests, we're sitting here because we've dreamed something and we've made it come true. It's much harder to dream wonderful dreams than it is to actually make them happen. Because you can make them happen a lot of different ways. There's just not one route to success for anybody's life or anybody's project. You have to be adaptive, and I think they will find a way to be adaptive here, and the dream is really amazing. So, to the Crown Prince who came up with this dream, I'm really dazzled and in awe, and I think in that regard, I just reflect the world.
But risk translates into opportunity too. At least somewhere along the risk curve is the place where you really can have a big impact if you succeed, even though the chances of failure might be higher. And I don't think we all, certainly the dreamers enjoy taking on the challenges that could fail and where there's an opportunity for breakthrough. I think that the biggest risk is the coming up with the tech ecosystem that will attract people. Or I think that's the hardest part. I don't think the risk is so high, but I think it's the hardest part to go from where we are today to a place where all the world's technologists are going to want to come and work together. I purposely wore my Silicon Valley shirt, which I always wear, something like this. And life in Silicon Valley is one of those places where everything is bottom up, from entrepreneurs who have their idea and damn the torpedoes, they're going to make their idea fly no matter what the odds. And that's what we need to do in Neom, have a culture like that. And it can't be top down, it has to be bottom up and chaotic a little bit in order to succeed. So I'm looking forward to creating a little chaos to help further the dream.
And you're able to do that because of the leadership, because His Highness is actually setting the tone for this. Klaus, you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, well, I think I agree with everything that has been said here, and I think the biggest risk, in my view, is we all are going through a period of time that, in my view, the change is so drastic that the word Industry 4.0 doesn't really give it justice. I think it's so fundamental. I compare it with the transformation from when we were all farmers when the Industrial Revolution happened, you know. So I don't know what the label is for this, what we will see in future, but I think we have an opportunity here with Neom to create it, right? The risk there is, because it is so foundational, it goes into all structures, not just technology, but also of human structures, that the human nature is very often that we look for a level of precision that is a 80–90% precision, which we most likely will not have. So we will have to go into it with a clear guideline where we are going to go, probably with a 70–80% solution, but keep the flexibility of moving while we move. Because it's the question of time, and time, I think, time advantage, and time is a very, very, very important competitive advantage. Everything else we have, in my view, right? So it's really on us, but I know that it takes enormous courage to say, I don't know exactly how this 30% is going to work out, but we're going to go with the 70%, and we're going to make mistakes. I mean, that's also very crystal clear. And by the way, it's 26,500 square kilometers. So when we say city, it's not giving it justice. It will be multiple cities, villages. I think of it, I'm not even using personally the word city because it comes with so many garbage. You know, I'd love it to be villages, communities, you know, where people interact with each other, you know. So that's, and make tons of money, you know, tons of money in a very, very good way, you know.
And Your Highness, this is obviously, you are a visionary. And this is part of your vision and His Majesty's vision for Vision 2030. What is your expectation in terms of timing from dream to reality?
This is a challenge because it's easy to dream, but to make it a reality is very difficult. In Neom, we want to create something new. So planning something new is not there in the world today. So we're collecting all the innovators around the world and companies to create this something new in Neom. At the same time, we know that this takes time. Investment does not have the patience to wait for a long time. This is also part of the challenge. We are under pressure to deliver something new in a short time. At the same time, under pressure to give innovative ideas. We don't want to find ourselves in 15 years that we missed out on an opportunity that we could have put in the initial planning of Neom. This is concerning to me, but undoubtedly this will encourage us to work, to participate with so many around the world, and Saudi Arabia. We will bypass this challenge. We will overcome it. This, in my understanding, is what's most concerning to me in Neom.
And you have all faced risks in your own lives, in your own portfolios. Masa, you were telling me a story in the green room, how for 1 minute you were the richest man in the world, and then you weren't. Can you share that story?
Well, in year 2000, for 3 days, I became richer than Bill Gates. In the same year, my stock price went down 99%, and I almost broke. And it was year 2000, internet bubble burst. So people said that the internet bubble, you know, people were expecting too much. And so more than the reality. And then when people get disappointed, actually it went down too much below the reality. The reality was internet users kept on growing every year. There is no single year it went down. Internet technology power kept on growing. Only one-way direction. So as the Crown Prince says, the people's expectation we have to manage. But when we have the right vision, when we have the right passion, when we have the right commitment, we can go one way for the success for the future. Every day we improve. With a great vision that where world is going, we have to think long term and then execute every day step by step. So we have the strong vision and passion, and we have a patience, and we are the company which we have operated. So we know the difficulty, but we know how to survive. By the way, I survived from the almost broke, 99% down. Now I actually became the richest in Japan again. So somehow I survived, and I think with the great partnership with the SoftBank Vision Fund, the Saudi, the kingdom, is the biggest partner, biggest investor. And our Vision Fund is already making a great progress, 22% return in 5 months. So if you annualize, it's close to my past 18 years. Last 18 years, I have returned 44% every year, compound. 40%, 44%, 44% for 18 years. And I'm going to make it happen again.
And we know that Alibaba was a big part of that. Is there another Alibaba out there? Is it Neom?
Neom will be a great success. I am decided, committed. A great leader, Crown Prince. You look at the passion. I have met with many leaders of the countries of many people last 30 years, but I haven't seen the leader with a great passion, a young age, great vision, and a little bit of money. That also helps.
Yeah.
That also helps.
That helps.
This is a fantastic combination. I think we're going to succeed. I think we're going to succeed.
One of the points that you made earlier, Your Highness. Go ahead, please. Yes, please.
I'm one of 20 million people. I'm nothing without them. In fact, I'm the least and weakest among them. They instigate me and they encourage me.
You mentioned earlier 70% of the people here in the kingdom are below 30 years old.
That's right.
Why is this so important?
This is a two-edged sword. If they work properly, they go to the right path strongly, they will create a totally different country. They will put their fingerprint in the world. But if they go the other way, they will bring destruction to this country. But what is calming and comforting is that all of these 70% have great passion on their personal level and on their national level, and they have the keenness and accuracy and the professionalism and intelligence, high intelligence, to achieve what is impossible.
Steve Schwarzman, talk to us about expectations. We have high expectations. We have high expectations for Neom. Are we expecting too much, too fast?
Well, we're at a meeting that's a little like a pep rally, so maybe a little bit too fast. But I think as this project rolls out, professionals like Klaus and his team will have benchmarks that everyone agrees with, and that's the way this will be run, and it'll be paced correctly. And you can never succeed in a project for which you do not have passion and enormous enthusiasm. It's got to start with the leader, and it's got to go down into the people who are going to be executing. And you know, that's what meetings like this and communication are for. And I think that's very effective. And as long as there's a sense of order, even though things may be 70% sometimes, like Klaus says, as long as there's a sense of order and communication with constituencies, I think it's important to have the population in Saudi informed on a regular basis as to what's happened. It's almost like a shareholders report, and there'll be a lot of exciting things. There'll be a few disappointments, and in a way, that will be instructive for the country to learn how to be more innovative, how to take on major new things. They'll see all the successes, they'll see an occasional failure. For those of us who are in this type of world, we don't like the failures, you know, but that's what you end up learning from. You don't end up learning from your successes. I know that sounds, you know, sort of a little pat, but we've all, you know, sort of profited. I'm sure Maso is unfortunately a wiser person, having lost, was probably more than 99% of his wealth. It was probably 99.6% of his wealth. And he comes back and he's not exactly the same. He's still optimistic, but you know, you learn something when these things don't stay exactly on track. I could look at every person in the front row, a lot of guests. It's happened to all of us. That's not a problem. It's a learning experience. Now, one thing I'd leave you with, because I just happened to have introduced Maso during UN Week at a big event, so I had to learn something about him. So I'm not a professional cheerleader, but I am really appreciative. So I was sitting next to him, and I said, Maso, I have to introduce you. So, you know, why don't you tell me about your best financial success? Because everyone in this room pretty much has their own best success, but it's always fun to learn about somebody else's. So he said it was my investment in Alibaba. You know, Alibaba's done very well in China, and Jack Ma's like a fun guy, and, you know, he was almost bankrupt 3 times. And so I said, well, how much did you invest? He said, $100 million. No,
$20 million.
Oh, 20. Oh, yes, I'm sorry, that was Yahoo. It was $20 million. And I said, so what's that worth? He said, that's worth $130 billion. Now, for those of you who aren't real good at math or have trouble with English as your first language, 20 million with an M going to 130 billion is, I believe, the greatest investment success by someone who's not working at that business in world history. So, you know, when you dream sometimes, really good things happen. And, you know, you've got a team of people who are engaged with this project, who aren't just dreamers. They're people who make things happen. And so the only risk is the timing. The rest of it will happen.
I want to pick... I want to pick up on a point Jack just made about failure. Or I don't use the word failure, but we have a system of development at our company called Build It, Break It, Fix It. And the idea is to go so quickly that you're going to have things that don't work, but you learn so much, as you just said, from what happens when they don't work. It's much more effective than carefully designing and and planning all the way to the end, because that process gets you there. And I think that Neom, if it's run by people who are successful people, that'll be part of the process. We don't know yet how it's going to be in 2030, but we'll put a machine in place that has the skills to learn the problems and solve them. And I don't fear that failure at all.
Yeah, this is very important. And go ahead, Steve.
We have a slightly different approach in a more conventional world. We try not to break them first. We buy them, and then we fix them, and then we sell them. So that may be more familiar to the people in the audience here, but that works too.
I want to ask you, His Highness earlier referred to biotech as one of the sectors marked, so I want to come back to that and find out where the robotics is being used in biotech. But first, Masa, this is such an incredible point that Steve brought up. $20 million turning into $150 billion in terms of your investment. Can that be done today, or have valuations gotten out of control?
Well, it's all depend on the opportunity and the company. If you blindly invest just because some other people also put the value, then it's a bubble. But if you invest into the company with the understanding of what's going to happen to that company, to that technology 10 years later, 20 years later, it's not a bubble. So you have to really understand that technology, that business model, that leader in the company, and that management and the team of the company. Then you can avoid the bubble.
What areas in the global economy do you see as value right now?
I couldn't hear you.
What areas of the global economy do you believe show value right now?
Show the growth? I would say the growth is in the artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, the smart robotics, not the traditional robot, the smart robotics, and the solar energy is also something as a great future, because it has a beautiful technologies growth in the cost and the efficiency and so on.
And Your Highness, I almost feel like if you're not using artificial intelligence, you will get left behind. This is an area you want very strongly in Neom.
بلا شك
Undoubtedly, the world is not going to wait for somebody to catch up. You have to be part of making the development, the new development in the world. As we mentioned in the beginning, the city will be built on the newest of technologies of today. The opportunity is unimaginable. A region that is almost vacant. There are many dreams from the Saudi leadership, many of the Saudis, and many our partners and of the large companies or individuals. Thousands of dreams that will be established in Neom and in the building of Neom. Everybody can imagine how the shape of the city, the zone, the infrastructure, the sectors, if you start from scratch and you deal away and forget about the conventional cities. Many things could happen. This is what we're trying to create in Neom.
You can understand, coming right to you in a moment, Steve, you can understand some people looking at your ambitious plans and saying, wait a minute, what is this all about? The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia investing in solar?
مثل ما نعرف الطلب على النفط ليس فقط من الطاقة.
Like we know, the demand is not only on energy. Many of the other sectors use oil, like petrochemicals and many other sectors. We believe that the demand for energy will increase dramatically in the future. So we don't think that it will decrease the demand for oil. It will increase between 230 to 240, 2030, 2040, and it will not immediately collapse after that. So we could look at the conventional source of energy before oil, which is coal. If we look at the index for demand for oil, for coal, it's still on the highest peak. So the use of solar energy, this does not mean that it will negatively affect oil. We will present many numbers in the future in this regard.
Yes, I understand, because as the global economy is
أنا أفهم بما أن هناك تقدم في الاقتصاد العالمي وبالتالي هناك طلب.
That's right, and there's a new demand from the new sectors and complex sectors, new petrochemicals. They will create a new demand other than the already established demand.
Steve.
There's one advantage for the kingdom of doing Neom is that there are now no more conventional types of investments. Technology is affecting almost everything we know. At Blackstone, we have probably 120 companies we own at any point in time, and we employ somewhere, depending on what we own, 500 to 600,000 people. We're usually the second or third biggest employer in the United States. We have a whole range of companies, and there are many people who are here with us who have similar types of exposures. So this is a large company that we have. Nothing remains the same. And this is a warning to all of you who live your lives and think it's going to be the same the next day. It's changing so fast, whether it's the modes of distribution. You know, you can be in retailing and all of a sudden find your customers are leaving you and you have good merchandise because they can buy it online. They can buy your stuff online. The margin isn't as big. We're seeing changes in supply. It's happening everywhere. And we're sending our people, in effect, back to school so they can learn, not at the expense of making an investment and then it ends up going wrong because they didn't know what was going to happen to it. But even as more conventional investors, you have to learn. You have to know, or else your children won't be able to inherit businesses that you have. They'll be damaged. And so starting a new city like this with the most modern technology will have benefits to everybody, one way or another, through the kingdom, either in growth rates or growing your own business or keeping GDP growing, providing for younger people. It will not happen if you don't engage and understand the different things that are going to be affecting your life. You can't see them. I'm starting to see them. Maso lives in that world, but it's a world that's coming right at all of us. And there are big benefits and there are dangers for not knowing and adapting.
Klaus.
Yeah, well, I want to make 3 points, really. The first is, His Royal Highness already mentioned that in his first statement about Neom. I also want to make sure that people understand in the kingdom that the connection to the kingdom is a very important positive for us. I mean, we just talked about artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence and automation are going into every field. There are a lot of great companies here, from the Saudi Aramcos, the Sabics, the Madens, and a lot of private companies here that are all having to change and undergoing this. And we will make Neom the place where we will tackle those issues first. So we're going to leverage this and make this the center of it, right? And there have been quite a number of conversations already undergoing. At the same time, also think about some of the things where regulation and existing infrastructure have held us back to do something where you would say that's odd. we will have a thing called digital air. You know, and what digital air is when you have children and you travel to a place where you have no internet. You know, this is the worst experience that you can have in your life, right? You know, because they think that the internet is everywhere, you know? So we're going to create a world where you have internet everywhere for free. Because it's an oddity of life, you know, it's as important as air is for the future, you know. So those concepts, you know, that sound revolutionary, but in reality are only revolutionary because they come from being stuck in the past. You know, the same thing, and Maria, you know, and you've been in the middle of this, how the Western countries are struggling with reforming the healthcare system, right? And frankly, if there's one thing that we all hold very dear to us, it's our own health and the health of our loved ones. The very fact that the struggle has not led to truly putting healing in the middle, health and well-being in the middle, whereas in reality the systems around the world are all built to curing disease, right, or tackling disease. You know, we're going to build a system, we're going to work very hard and bring the most visionary minds and create a system which will put health and healing in the middle of it. So those are opportunities where I'm absolutely excited to take them on. And we all know it's not going to be easy, but those are the things where I think it's going to make it very, very livable for humans.
Your Royal Highness, give us the final word. You have foreign investors watching and listening right now. What is your message to them as you embark on this new project?
I tell them those who cannot dream should not negotiate with us, should not come to Neom. We only welcome the dreamers who want to reach to a new world. We have a large number. We're keen on working with them. We welcome any new partner in this project. Also, I'd like to add that we have in Saudi Arabia 4 regions that are registered on the map of the world: Riyadh, Mecca, Medina, and the Eastern Province. Today, I congratulate the people of Tabuk that it will enter the world map after the Red Sea and the project of Neom. I promise all the other regions that they will witness a transformation like Tabuk has.
Your Royal Highness, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you so much.